Good evening, folks, and welcome to this month's Style Guide. And tonight we are looking at none other than the late lamented, gone before his time, the one and only Randy Rhoads, hence breaking out the Les Paul. It's not white or polka dot or a custom, but a Les Paul nonetheless. I'm going to take a moment to apologise right now, as I've had a little bit of an IT issue. I know, hard to believe for me, isn't it? So camera one is not functioning perhaps entirely at 100%, but nevertheless we shall push on through. So if you're new to this, welcome. Please do like, share and subscribe. It's lovely to have you with us. If you're a returning viewer, then it's just as lovely to have you with us. It gives me a warm glow inside. Thank you very much. Keep on with the liking and subscribing. It makes a one hell of a difference. So let's talk about Randy Rhoads and his technique. The first lick that I'm going to demonstrate is that lick from Crazy Train, and I think it demonstrates an element of Randy starting to form his style in this first album. So what we have here, this is taken from the F sharp minor pentatonic, and what we've got here and at first it's tempting to think that this is just going to be a standard Jimmy Page style run. You know, kind of Angus Young, Jimmy Page pentatonic run, sequence in threes, but there's actually quite a lot more to it than that. We're starting off with, as is quite customary, sort of 60s, 70s, 80s rock music, but then we're going to a flat 6, the D note here on the 3rd fret B string, and down to the flat 5 from the blues scale, and then coming back down. So there's a heavy use of the flat 6 and the flat 5 in the higher and lower octaves. And it's quite tempting to believe that really what Randy was doing was taking the licks that he'd already learned from people like Jimmy Page, something like, and going instead of which everybody does, why don't I try putting my flat 6 in, and instead of, and then, and what you've got there is a lick that occupies the same type of rhythmic space as your classic Jimmy Page, Angus Young pentatonic blitz, but is actually rather more advanced in its harmonic content. As I say, we've got a mix of the natural minor and the blues scale going on here. Okay, moving on briefly to my second lick. Now this is where we're going to get into some serious arpeggio territory. Now this is taken from Mr. Crowley, and we're going to be following the D minor to B flat to C to F chord sequence here. And what we're doing, there's my D minor arpeggio and a root position here. So there's my root note, 15th fret on the B string, 13th fret on the high E, and that's my minor third, the F, then my 5th, the A, on the 17th fret of the E string. My next chord is the B flat, which is spelled B flat D F. Now Randy inverts that, so I have a D, F, but now I'm stretching out to the B flat on the 18th fret. Then I'm jumping down to a root position C, root note 13th fret on the B string, 12th fret on the high E for my major third, and 5th, the G note on the 15th fret of the E string. And then I'm keeping that C in place and moving to the F chord, spelled F-A-C, so this I'm going to use as a second inversion, 5th, C, still on the 13th fret of the B string, then to the F on the 13th fret high E, and then to the third, the A on the 17th fret high E. So D, F, A, root position B minor, root position D minor, and then D, F, B flat, first inversion B flat, C, D, G, that's root position C, and C, F, A. Second inversion on the F chord. And we're going to play these in sextuplets, so 6 to the beat count, 1 and a 1 and a 2 and a 2 and a 3 and a 3 and a 4 and a 4 and a. So I'll slow that down a little bit. And what's interesting is that he's playing them very much in the 70s rock style, more like you would have found in the Hotel California solo or any kind of Jimmy Page's use of arpeggios. All the while, his great rival, old Eddie Van Halen, would have probably been playing them along these sorts of lines. So it's nice to see Randy taking a different approach to getting the same type of effect. And we're topping that off with a... and then a tremolo pick passage. And what we have here is another of Randy's signature harmonic trademarks. I've got here an E diminished 7, so that is my root, my minor third, my flat 5, and my double flat 7. So E root, G minor third, B flat, flat 5, and D flat, double flat 7. And then we've got the F just because it fits into the key. It's a nice semitone shift. So I'll run it all together slowly first. And then we'll give that a little bit more speed. Moving on to the next lick, trills were a very signature part of Randy's technique. Very much bringing in a sort of a neoclassical Bach type of feel to it. And so what we have here, this one is in E harmonic minor, taken from Revelation Mother Earth, as built around the E minor to B chord sequence. Obviously there's a lot more to it than that, but that's what the guts of it is. And you can see I'm trilling my way up the harmonic minor scale, B and C, D sharp to E, F sharp to G, B to C, D sharp to E, F sharp to G. So far it's been semitones all the way, and then G to A to B, B to C, and then we're finishing off with an interesting pedal tone lick. So we're keeping the 19th fret B note on the high E string static, and we're descending A, G, F sharp, but always coming back to that B note, and finishing off on an E, which I had originally tabbed on the 12th fret of the high E string, but now I'm looking at it again, I'm thinking 17th fret B is probably better. And then you're similar vintage to me, and you're thinking, where do I know that from? Ski Sunday, that's where you know it from. So let's play that slowly. And a little bit more speed. So that's a really interesting lick. Now I've kept the best one for last, as I was talking about diminished 7s. This next one involves an E diminished 7, which is spelled out E, G, B flat, D flat, E. Now one thing to take a look at, if I do that across one string, you can actually see that the intervals here are all minor thirds. It's a minor third, 3 frets from the E to the G, another one from the G to the B flat, another from the B flat to the D flat, and another one from the D flat to the E. Now what this means is that this is essentially a symmetrical chord, hence the dissonance, but it also means that the E, G, B flat and D flat diminished 7 chords are all exactly the same in terms of notes. One is spelled E, G, B flat, D flat, E. One is spelled G, B flat, D flat, E. One is spelled B flat, D flat, E, G. You get the gist. So they're all inversions of the same chord. Now, I'm going to play this through slowly and then break it down for you. Okay, so what's going on here then is we are taking a diminished 7 arpeggio and we're sequencing it through in threes, starting on the G, G, E, D flat, E, D flat, B flat, D flat, B flat, G, B flat, G, E, G, E, D flat, E, D flat, B flat, D flat, B flat, G, B flat, G, E, and then coming back up, E, G, B flat, G, B flat, D flat, B flat, D flat, E, D flat, E, G, before switching over to this little hammer-on pull-off pattern. So that is G, hammer to B flat, pull back off, and then down to E. Then moved up a minor third, B flat, hammer to D flat, back to B flat, and then just to G. D flat, hammer to E, back to D flat, back to B flat, and then E, hammer to G, back to E, and then down to D flat. G, B flat, back to G, and then down to E, before running down. And there we go. So I hope you've enjoyed that. I hope you found it useful. Do please remember, like, share and subscribe. It's probably slightly easier to believe this month that it really is a one-man show with beg, borrow, donated kit, and some of it not always at 100% capacity. So every little like, every little subscribe, every little bit of engagement, it all does help drive the algorithm. It is all so appreciated. I cannot tell you how much. Okay. Do hope to see you next week for the 1 minute lick, and yeah, all the best. See you soon. Bye for now.